Just firstly then, obviously after such a big day for the club and that victory to get to Wembley, how special an afternoon was that for everybody?
I thought it was really, well, first of all, really a good game for your neutral fan to watch. Obviously, went in our favour. I thought Bradford beat us to the punch in terms of the start, but I thought we showed some real character and grit to defend how we did and then, throw his own counter-attacks. And really pleasing day for the club. Obviously, that's been and gone now, so it's really important that everyone's back down to earth and we focus on the task at hand, and that's a very difficult game versus Sheffield on Sunday in the Championship.
Saying that because you did have a week off without a game, did it allow you a bit of time to maybe just reflect on what an achievement that was?
I think it came at the right time. I suppose time will tell, but we'd had this booked in regardless, but naturally it's a good chance for people just to get control of their emotions again and as I say, level out a little bit, get a bit of time away from rugby and just get that mental refresh, that downtime that you need now and again. And we trained last night, everyone looked ready to go again, excited as you'd expect, but as I say, we're under no illusions. Sheffield will be a difficult game, obviously going through a difficult start, but you look at their team, they've got some great Championship players in it, so we're definitely aware of their threat. And I know Craig personally, he's a good coach, and given time, he'll get them back what we all know Sheffield Eagles can do in the Championship. Traditionally they've been a top club for the last few years, haven't they? So it's definitely a game we'll be fully aware of, that we need to be at our best, and we certainly won't be looking any further ahead than Sunday, put it that way.
Well, that's going to be my next point, really. For you as a coach, are you one that now bans talk of Wembley, or do you allow a little bit to be in the conversation?
It's not school. I don't think you have to ban it. It was important that we addressed it. Obviously, naturally, people are going to have questions about what the logistics look like, so we got that out of the way last night. Put them sort of seeds doubt or whatever you want to call it that were in players' heads, keep them at bay now, and then we've got a really professional group. Everyone's aware that we need to be at his best on Sunday, so I don't think we can afford not to be at his best on Sunday, so we've kind of said what we need to say about what comes the following week. That's irrelevant now. We need to make sure that we nail Sunday. It's as simple as that.
Which do you use Wembley as maybe a motivation going into this game for those players to earn their spot?
I don't have to say anything, do I? And that, as I say, main thing for me is that we've got a league campaign that we're going after. I've said all along it's 1 week at a time. I remember being asked about Bradford about 6 weeks before we actually played Bradford, and I said then it was 1 week at a time, and it's no different now. Sheffield are a good team. Obviously, if you look at their games that they've been in, I know that they've had a lot of narrow losses. It's not like they've been cricket scores or anything like that, and it just shows you how dangerous they can be. So we're very aware of the threat they've got. So I think it's really important that we show any opponent, but especially Sheffield, that respect and make sure we prepare properly. And I think if we wasn't, we'll get found out. It's as simple as that. So we'll be full steam ahead into Sheffield, and then we'll reassess after that and worry about what comes next. But believe me, we'll be the talk this week is on Sheffield Eagles and no more.
So if you were a player in the situation, you had Sheffield up next, and then you knew you had the Wembley final, how would you as a player approach this week, next couple of weeks now?
I think as I was younger, your mind will wander. I think as I got a little bit older, you realise you can't afford to let your mind wander, because you end up, going through that experience of learning not to let your mind wander. So, as I say, I think we've got a pretty good group. Everyone's aware about what we need to do on Sunday. Some of the stuff you've just touched on there, you don't really have to speak as a coach, because it's in the player's mind. We're just focusing, as I said, on getting 2 points in the league campaign. We know they're not just going to get given to us. We know Sheffield are going to be as desperate for them 2 points as we are, so we're going to make sure that we prepare accordingly and get ready for a very tough battle against them.
Squad-wise, how is everybody looking going into this one?
The only issues we had is potentially Scott with his dead leg still. I think he'll be good. It's just still a little bit tender. Apart from that, just the standard ones. Will Dagger's now back running, so I think he should be about three weeks away. Bailey Antrobus is back in non-contact. He's still a couple of months away though. And Mitch Clark's back training with us, but again he's got a little bit longer to go with his torn pectoral. So there's always going to be a few more speed bumps. You know, I'm under no illusions. There'll be a few hiccups along the way. You know, injuries come in when you don't want them, but that's the nature of the game. So yeah, apart from that, we're pretty much as we were before this break.
How nice is that though to see Mitch back involved again in some way?
Yeah, it's been really good. He's had a bit of a mini pre-season. You know, you never want to see players injured, but Mitch's partner's due to give birth any time now, so hopefully he can enjoy that experience with his family and his loved ones, and you know, come back feeling ready to rip into this back end of the year for us.
With Ben Jones-Bishop was cup tied for the last game, so I assume he's back and available and playing for this one now. Yeah,
Bishy's back. Obviously gutted for him that he can't play, but yeah, he'll be back available and in contention for Sunday for sure.
For you as a coach now, obviously because you have that cup final coming up, do you alter your team selection at all, thinking, well, maybe I should rest them ahead of that game, or do you go full gun for this one?
No, every game's important to me. I'll put out my strongest team possible, any game possible. It's as simple as that. I've always said to players that I'll pick on performance and how you're training, and I expect a certain standard in training. I expect a certain intensity in training, and that goes right from my captain at Liam Harris to, you know, one of my most experienced players in Paul McShane to his youngest player in Jack Brown. That I expect a certain standard, and there'll be no one getting rested. I'm not a massive fan in that. I don't believe in that sort of thing. That's just my philosophy. I'm greedy. I want to take whatever I can when I can. And you know, to beat Sheffield Eagles, we need his best team out there, because, as I say, they'll be wanting to right a few wrongs in terms of their own season, and we've got to be aware of you know, what they're going to bring and make sure that, you know, we bring a better version of what we want to be.
They lost to Hunslet last time out, which obviously would have really hurt them, I suppose. So what are you expecting from them this time around?
Anytime you play Sheffield, they've got strike throughout the field. Obviously, some really good players there. There's a couple of players I've coached myself. I know they've got some good go forward too. They've obviously been a bit active in that loan market, getting some good young players in that's giving them a bit of punch. So, as I say, Sheffield's they've got a lot of big game players that's played in big games, and I know that, you know, results probably haven't gone their way at the moment, but they're a well-coached team with good players, and we've got to make sure that, you know, we get our standard where it needs to be, and you know, let them worry about us.
Craig Lingard made an interesting point about those loans, saying it's normally something he wouldn't go down that route to bring in loan players, but at the minute it's kind of needed and it's actually helped strengthen them. But can you understand his point of view as a coach about the loan market?
Yeah, listen, I've been in similar situations myself as a coach, and it's never nice when either you're getting a few injuries and you need to get bodies in because you can't put the team out that you want, or you're going through you know, a bit of a transitional period as Sheffield are at this moment, you know, with a new coach coming in. But one thing I do know about Linners is he's a good man that'll get it sorted. And as I say, I'm not really worrying too much about Sheffield and what's happening internally at them. I've got a lot of respect for Craig. He's a guy that I know well, coached me as a player, so hell of a lot of respect for him, and I class him as a friend. But you know, this week it's purely just focusing on York and what Sheffield are up to and what's happening internally. You know, from a performance point of view is irrelevant to us. We're just worried about ourselves. You know, what we want to bring to the table, what our standard looks like, you know, and we'll go from there.
We saw the job that Craig did at Castleford as well, and as you say, he's coached you. What makes him such a good coach for you then?
I think for me, I just enjoyed him as a person. You know, every player is different. I had John Keir at the time as my head coach, and Mark Moxon and Craig Lingard were his assistants, and I just got on well with all that coaching team. You know, the people that I've kept in contact with over the last 10-15 years. So, you know, I know given time, Craig will get that sorted. As I say, he's a good man. You know, good standards, but. That's irrelevant this week. We've just got to focus on preparing our team. You know, York ready for a difficult game versus Sheffield, and that's all I'm really bothered in this week.
So on that then, what do you need to do to get a result against a Sheffield side that, as I say, will probably be hurting after Hunslet?
Yeah, well, there's a few areas that we feel we let ourselves down against Bradford that we can tweak and improve. So we spoke internally about a few of them, both defensively and offensively. So we'll be just chasing them. As I've said all along, it's just getting your own performance where you want it to be. We're aware of where Sheffield's threats are. We know that they'll offer some decent strike, especially if we gift them field position. Similar to what we said at Hunslet though, Hunslet can trouble you if you gift them field position. So we've got to make sure that we tighten certain areas of our own game up and put into practice them areas that we're trying to fix up as well.
And just finally, it's part of another double header here at the LNER with the Valkyrie playing first. How much do you like those kind of days here?
Yeah, I think the more we can make it a family day out for everyone, and cater for everyone's need is perfect. Hopefully when academies get set up, we can have it right through from, men's and women's academy teams starting in the morning, through to the senior teams. I think it's great. Good to see York get an hard-fought win versus Leeds, because I know they've had a couple of tough weeks, obviously with the semi and the Wigan game after that. But I think it'll be a good matchup. The Valks versus Saints, and I know Lindsay and the team will be wanting to right that wrong from the semi-final. And it's one of them. I normally can watch the first half without it really affecting what we do. Then I kind of shy away into sheds and get ready for our game. But I'll be cheering Valks on for sure.
Hi, Matt.
Hi, mate.
Obviously, after that Bradford game, a bit of a break and a free weekend. How much do you think yourself and the players have sort of benefited from having a bit of downtime?
Well, I suppose time will tell. We've always, at the start of the year, we penciled this bye week in as a bit of a natural break for us. I think it's not as much physically getting the break, because I know players have been training on own programmes on that. It's just getting a bit of time away from each other, just so I suppose you start to miss each other a bit again and miss the environment. So I'd like to think it served its purpose, but I suppose the proof will be in the pudding over these next few weeks, won't it?
Just from the opening day, actually, but in that defeat to Oldham on the opening day, there was a lot of concern about the discipline throughout the squad, throughout giving away multiple penalties. Have you been pleased with sort of the improvements you've seen from that with the work done on the training pitch?
Listen, if we go back to that Oldham game, there's loads of stuff that you can argue on it. Ultimately, as head coach, that's my responsibility. You can't just bask in the glory when you've got some tough wins. First of all, I looked at what I was serving up, what the coaching team was serving up. There were a few areas we feel we could go after. Discipline being one of them. I still think we can improve it more. But that's on me. That as head coach, as I say, I'll take full responsibility for any loss. The players I've right from day one really ripped in and gone hard, and obviously it didn't go our way against Oldham. It didn't go our way in them first 2 or 3 games, but we kept on working hard. It wasn't like we were a million miles off in any of them games, barring maybe Oldham and certain things. It's just important, as I've said all along, you just keep objective about things, keep a level head. Sometimes you're going to get them good wins, and then to counter that, there's going to be some pretty tough losses. So it's just really important you keep that level head as the head coach and just look at things objectively of where we've gone well, what can we improve, and have I served up a good enough week for the lads? Is the environment right for the lads? And then vice versa, you expect that from your playing group. They're not dumb. They know when they've taken the foot off gas. They know when they've not quite been at their own personal standard. And then as long as you've got that honesty between you, you're not in a bad place, are you?
Do you think that improvement's helped by some of the more mature heads in the group, the likes of Liam Harris or Paul McShane? Do you think they help the younger players to learn from those mistakes?
Yes, yeah, definitely. But also 2 players you just named there, they're also filthy on themselves when they make mistakes. I know Maka kicked one out on full on Sunday versus Bradford, and got that yellow card, and he were absolutely filthy with himself on it. So it's not like they're sat in a castle pointing down fingers to everyone. We're all in it together, right from myself through to your youngest. Like there's no hierarchy in terms of I can get away with this and you can't. It's everyone's equal. So I expect everyone to be able to pull everyone up, on a certain standard, and that's the environment that we've got, and we keep on policing.
On Sheffield, I
Yeah.
appreciate you've already said quite a lot about them, so I'll keep you
Yeah.
sort of...
No, you're good, you're good.
In terms of their threats, where do you think their threats lie in terms of, hurting your team? And are there any players in that squad that you think are capable of, having a real effect against you?
Oh, 100%. There's players throughout. I don't know if Corey Johnson's back, but I think he will be. He's got some great threat out of nine, such as Reece Butterworth as well. I think they're very two smart hookers there. Obviously, you've got Corey Ashton that's pulling a lot of strings there. I know Jack Bussey well. I know he played half in the last game, but he's been a solid championship player over the last few years, hasn't he? Eddie Batty and Titus Kwasi provide him a lot of go forward. I thought the young Billington that they got on loan, he offered him a lot of punch. There's players throughout that team that you could go after that's going to offer him something. So, as I say, we're very aware that if we're not our best on Sunday, that we'll end up, getting burned. So we've just got to make sure that we're more desperate than them for the 2 points. Simple as that.